guys, welcome back to my channel. So I absolutely cannot believe that I am making a video looking like this. I have mentioned before in my videos that I am allergic to everything, like everything. I have had such an annoying childhood and life being allergic to everything. So I get my eyelashes done and I knew I had a reaction to them. When I'm pregnant, it's worse. So basically, moral of my story is this situation on my face is definitely from getting my eyelashes done. So disclaimer, if you are getting your eyelashes done, make sure that they do like a test strip on you, or like just watch your symptoms, because I've heard actually a lot that it can just like progressively get worse over time because it didn't start out like this. Totally not my eyelash girl's fault. She's awesome. I loved my eyelashes. They were so bomb, but I'm like, this situation, yeah, it's just horrible. This is swollen. Anyway, so yeah, I just wanted to put a disclaimer out there that I look like a freaking mess, but that's okay, because what is this? I'm literally just sitting in my pajamas on my bed, as you can see, my pillows. I have just been thinking about making this video for a while. I've seen a lot of other videos on this topic, and I personally know a lot of people that are not brave enough to share their stories with other people about the subject, and I know that sometimes watching these type of videos for people can really help them get out there or help them acknowledge their feelings or open up to other people. So obviously, this goes without saying, you guys are going to read the title of this video, but this is obviously a huge trigger warning. I am talking about sexual assault, rape, molestation. So if you are sensitive to these subjects, then please click off right now. I do not want to bring up any trauma for anyone or make this, you know, something that's really hard for someone to watch. I'm not going to be posting a lot of serious videos on this channel, like this kind of serious. I have like one other video I can think of that's also going to be like kind of hardcore like this. So yeah, just ignore my face. Yeah, I'm such a mess. Okay, so basically, where do I start? This is like the most weirdest topic to talk about on video. Right now, I am currently 22 years old, and this event only happened once when I was probably, honestly, it's a little rough for me in my head. I want to say that I was in between the ages of 5 and 7. I was really young. I don't have recollection on my age just because obviously it's just like a blurry thing. This is going to be kind of challenging to talk about on camera because I never have before. I've talked to a lot of people about it. A lot of people tell me how like strong I am for talking about it, how brave I am. They couldn't do it. They couldn't share their stories. Anyway, so moral of the story here is that when I was between the ages of 5 and 7, I had a family member. I'm not going to say any names. He was very well trusted in the family. I'd been around him alone before. We all grew up with him. He's older than me. He is probably, I don't know exactly how many, like what our age gap is, but I do know that he was 18 or older. And I was in between the ages of 5 and 7 again. And so it wasn't something unusual for me to hang out with this person, not alone necessarily. He was trusted. It just didn't seem like a weird concept for me while I was that young. We all trusted him. So basically one day, a lot of the day is a blur, so a lot of the story isn't even going to be like a detailed graphic thing. It's just kind of telling my side of this. I don't really remember what the circumstance was. All I do know is that where we were at the time, there's a house in the front of the property and there is a house on the back of the property. I had a family member living in the house in the back of the property, and I went out there all the time, super safe, super comfortable being back there. This family member of mine that did this to me came and got me. I'm like, it's just blurry for me because I guess adrenaline, you know, you try to block these things out. But obviously came and got me, took me out to this other house on the back of the property that I was comfortable being in. No one else was there. It still wasn't unusual to me. I was young. I didn't have a bad feeling about this. I don't even remember the details leading up to it. I don't remember much of the entire day. I just remember that he told me that I was at Disneyland. I, at the time, being this young, had no clue what sex was. I had no idea what it was, how it happened, what the act was. I was so confused about the entire situation. I do remember that there was a white cord, like the phones with the cords on them. And for some reason, my mom called this phone back there. And I'd answer. He told me to answer it. I don't even really remember like the details of the event or anything. All I know is that the majority of people that I have personally, so don't get me wrong when I say this, have spoken to, that something has happened to in between the ages of, you know, like when they were very young and 10 or whatever the case may have been. It's not usually like a rape thing. I mean, not that there's usually like, I'm trying to be touchy because I don't know exactly how to say what I'm saying, but most of the time, the cases that I've heard of younger children, or people that I've met, I should say, personally spoke to, were just molested. So basically what I'm getting to is that there was no actual intercourse in the situation usually that I'd ever heard of before, obviously after this scenario happened, because I had no clue what was going on. But there was actually intercourse in my situation. It was disgusting. It was brutal. It hurt. I just remember him telling me it was okay. It was fine not to tell my mom anything. Then I just carried on and I walked up to the front of the house and carried on with my day. Didn't obviously tell my mom. I was told not to. I don't know why I didn't think it was a big deal. So that is kind of brutal and horrific, and I'm sorry. But from then on, I still was unaware of what happened. He moved to Portland. He was seeing someone at that time, I believe, and he moved to Portland to be with that person and their family. I'm pretty sure she did have children. And one day I was sitting at my mom's house, at my parents' house, and this was probably a couple years after, and I remember specifically sitting at the sliding glass back door, hearing my mom on the phone, and there was something on the TV playing, talking about sex or rape. I don't remember the exact, like, what was exactly playing on TV, but I do know that there was something playing along those lines, and I'd heard it. And from that moment on, I just was like, wait a second. Like, that's not legit. That's not supposed to be what was happening. Like, that's what happened that day. So ever since that time that this clicked, I just had this, like, epiphany that this is what happened to me. I didn't tell anyone for probably 7 years. I just was embarrassed. I was scared. Before I did tell anyone else, there was a few times in between these 7 or 8 years of me not telling anyone that I did see this person that did this to me again. And there was one incident where he had came to my mom's house. Obviously, she was still unaware of the situation. And for some reason, we have a lot of property on my mom's house. I remember hearing that he was coming over, and I ran through my field, which is completely normal. Back in the day, we used to run through the field, play in the field. We have tons of property. My grandparents live on the property, but I just ran and I ran and I ran. And I just remember that him and this girl that he was dating's brother, I just heard them yelling for me. Like, they were looking for me, and I just was so horrified. Like, that was the only time. Actually, there was one other time, but this was one of the only times where I was actually, like, scared that something was going to happen or something was going to be said about the situation. And so I just ran and ran. And I do remember seeing him that day, but I don't think that I communicated with him. So there was that incident. Then there was a different incident that I had stayed home from school one day, and he was supposed to be living in Portland still. And I was sitting on the phone with someone. This is when I was a little bit older, and so I could kind of understand what was going on. All the doors were locked at my mom's house. Obviously, I lived at my parents' house my whole life until I was older, and I was on the phone with someone, and there's windows in each room of the house, clearly, and 2 of those rooms, it looks out onto the porch where the front door is. I just remember getting a knock on the door, and we have like a little glass thing at my parents' house where you can sorry about the noise, but where you can look through the glass and you can see who is out the door, obviously. And so I told this person on the phone, like, hold on one second, someone's knocking on the door. And he said something, and I know his voice because obviously that's a voice you don't want to hear again. And I completely started panicking. I don't know why I was panicking. I guess because I was home alone, and it was just like, no, absolutely not. Like, he will not know I'm home alone. So I ran to the front door and I locked it as fast as I could. And then I went into one of the rooms and I looked out the window, and he was still at the door, and he saw me. And as soon as he saw me, he literally started running to the back door to come and unlock the back door. So I ran as fast as I could to the back door, locked it as fast as I could. He started banging on the back door. I closed the blinds. It was fine. I went and hid underneath my sister's bed, or like not underneath it, but just like so he couldn't see me. And he was just knocking on the windows, being loud, telling me to let him in. He wasn't being aggressive necessarily, but it wasn't something that was, it was scary. Like, I just was like, no, like, you're not, this is not funny. Like, I don't know why he would take it so lightly. I don't know. Obviously his head's far beyond messed up. So after that time, there was only one other time, and actually his family members live right up the street. We're kind of like, we are a very close-knit family, or we were back then. So I walked up to his house where he was living. I don't think he was living there actually, but that's where he had lived his whole life. His parents' house, basically. I walked in the house, super casual. I obviously was assuming that no one was home, or he wasn't home. I think that his other family member told me to go up there and let myself in because I was printing something, and they were the only people that we knew with a printer. So I just walked in there and was super casual, and then I walked into the computer room, and all of a sudden he turned around in the computer chair. Mind you that before this, he never acknowledged the situation. He never apologized. He never talked about it. It was never brought up. It was still in my head. So it was almost like this was something I had made up at this point, because that's just how I was dealing with the trauma of the situation. So he turned around the computer chair. I saw him. I made eye contact. I backed up a little bit, and he just said, "Stop. I'm sorry." And I just said, "I don't know what you're talking about." And he said, "I'm sorry, you know what I'm talking about." And I just said, "I don't know what you're talking about." And I just would not admit it, and I would not admit it to myself. And that was the moment then that I knew that I wasn't crazy. Obviously, I wasn't crazy in the first place, but some people just do things with these thoughts that other people don't do, you know? You handle it the way you handle it, especially when you're young and have to take that all in. I just know that after that, I obviously did not use a printer. I just was like, it's okay, like, I don't know what you're talking about, you know, whatever. I just backed out, and I went back to my house, my parents' house. Sorry. And that was the end of that situation. After that had happened, I still didn't tell anyone. I was petrified that this was actually a situation that really happened, since the day that it happened was so blurry and just like all over the place for me. I just didn't ever want to believe that happened. I didn't want to think about it. I hadn't told anybody. So moving on from that day, I stopped seeing him. He stopped coming around. I didn't see him anymore at all. So come to like probably 7th grade or something, I was probably 13 or 14. This is extremely uncomfortable to talk about in front of camera. In front of a camera, I've never been uncomfortable about talking about it before, but probably because when I'm talking about it, there's someone like communicating back to me about the situation. Anyway, so one day I was sitting at my house. I hadn't seen him in years, literally. I don't even know. I didn't even think about it. I was just growing up, doing my thing. I heard a lot of similar stories from my friends that things have happened to them like this. They didn't tell their parents, you know. I always knew it was something that I should definitely tell my parents, and it was extremely terrifying, honestly, because it's like you think it's your fault, or they're gonna get mad because you didn't tell them. Like, there's just so many things that go through your mind that shouldn't go through your mind, but they do anyway, because what's new with humans. So yeah, I'm sitting in my room and my mom's sitting in her room. She has a huge open room and space, and my door is like, my door was, I don't live there anymore obviously, but it's still my room and always will be. It's like directly across from, so I heard someone knock on the door. She wasn't getting it, so I ran out to the living room and I opened the door, and it was obviously him. And I just said, "What are you doing here?" And he said, "Where's your mom?" And I said, "What are you doing here?" And he said, "Where's your mom?" And I said, "She's back in her room." That was the end of that conversation. He went back to my mom's room, said whatever he needed to say to her, and then he came and knocked on my door. I just was like, "What do you want?" And he just said, "I just was wondering if I could use the computer." At that moment, I just was feeling so unafraid of the situation, because I just was so sick of feeling like I had to be afraid of this person. You know, my mom was home. I just was feeling so like, I don't want you in here. I just didn't want him to think that I was comfortable with the fact that it was okay for him to come do these things when he knew he did something wrong. And I had taken so many years to acknowledge the fact that he apologized and he realized what he did wrong. And so therefore, I just felt like, why would you still come and do these things and come and try to talk to me and use my computer and just be this way when you know it's completely inappropriate? So basically, obviously, I told him, yeah, come in and you can use my computer. And I shut the door behind him and he sat on my bed. We were silent for a minute. He just was like, "I'm sorry," again. And I said, "I am not talking about this with you." And he said, "Well, we need to talk about it. I just want to apologize and let you know that I was wrong. And I want to thank you for not telling anyone, because whatever, obviously, you're going to be in trouble if I tell someone." He tried to tell me that my brother used to beat him up when he was younger. So it was kind of like a revenge thing, I guess. I don't know. He didn't say that word for word, but I know obviously that that's what he was getting at. So basically what I said back to him was, if you think that my brother beat you up when you were younger, then you're right. You're damn lucky that I have not told anyone and that my brother doesn't know, because if my brother did know and you thought he was beating you up back then, he would kill you. So I just want to let you know, like, this is some serious shit, dude. I asked him how many other people he has done this to. I told him I do not want other kids around him. I told him this is completely unokay and he is not welcome in my house and he is not welcome near me, and that he needs to stay completely far away from me, and that I'm not scared of him. I told him just straight up. I looked at him dead in the face and I said, "I'm not scared of you and you are not welcome here." And I told him that he has 15 minutes to use my computer. I'm going to leave my room and go do whatever I'm going to do. And by the time that I come back, he better be gone, or the first person that's going to find out is my mom. And so he just kept trying to talk to me, whatever. I left the room. I came back. He was gone. There was a couple other times after that it was just like not going through his brain. Like, obviously he's a psychopath. So at this point I told my sister what had happened, and she said, she kind of had a hunch, because throughout my childhood I had some questions come up, like from my mom and my sister and family members, saying like, did he do something, like you're weird about him, or like you feel uncomfortable, or I can feel the uncomfortableness with you, or etc. I always said no, obviously, but with my sister we were so close that she could definitely tell, but she couldn't push it out of me, because obviously I wasn't gonna budge. And then at one point I told my sister, and I just told her that I don't want her to tell my mom, because I'm not ready to tell my mom, and I don't know what's going to happen, and I wasn't ready to talk about it. I told my cousin also, who is a boy, and he was livid. I knew he could kind of have some self-control about the situation. It was Christmas one year, and I was sitting in the car waiting to go. First of all, I was extremely uncomfortable sitting at Christmas dinner with all these people and him, knowing this had happened to me, and I always had it on my mind, like, I need to tell someone, because what if something is happening to someone else and they aren't saying anything either? Moral of my story is I should have said something a lot sooner than I did, but it's so scary, and I know a lot of people are so scared of telling, because of the consequences, because they're scared of this person, because they don't want to be judged, there's so many things that people think about in these kind of situations that are insanity. You don't think that you're going to live through this. You don't think that you are going to feel these types of things after this kind of situation. You have no idea, you know? Anyway, so Christmas dinner, yada yada. I go in, start my sister's car. I'm sitting in the passenger seat waiting for my sister to come out. She's saying bye to everybody. I was completely uncomfortable, so I just told her I'm ready to go back home. She obviously was aware of the situation. And so I'm sitting in the car, and he comes, the guy that did it to me, came and sat in the front seat with me. And I'm like, excuse you, what are you doing? Like, what are you honestly doing? Like, I would just be livid. I just was livid. Every single time that I saw him after this, I was just livid. Like, are you serious? I swear that I saw him everywhere. Like, I swear to you. So after he got in the car with me, I told him he needs to get out. My sister told him he needs to get out. He got out. We drove back home. My cousin that also knew the situation was waiting for us at our house. And this person that did this to me also showed up at my house. So we're all telling him, like, excuse you, like, you cannot be here. He's openly discussing this with my cousin and my sister and I in the living room of my house where my parents are as well. They obviously were not in that room. And I am telling you, we are like, dude, you have 5 seconds, you know, to cut this out. Like, this is absolutely ridiculous. Like, whatever. Basically, we were just, I didn't even know how to handle the situation. They didn't know how to handle the situation. Shortly after that, I did tell my mom. I ran away to Washington like an idiot. That's a whole nother story time, with a boyfriend that I had at the time. And I came back. She caught me, obviously. And I came back, and she was asking me where she went wrong. And I just straight up told her what happened. I just said, look, this is what happened. I'm traumatized. It was just an outlet for me to tell her at that point in time, because I don't know why. I just wanted to blame my episodes on something, I guess. Super stupid, but it was a way for me to, like, let it out. I don't know. So I told my mom. She instantly called his parents and told his parents. No charges were pressed because it was after 7-8 years at this point. I didn't even know if I wanted there to be. I just kind of wanted it to be over, and now my mom knows. You know, I just was kind of relieved that people actually knew, so that way, I don't know. I have always been okay with the situation in the sense that I'm okay, and I would not be who I am without the situation. I'm not usually emotional about it. I'm really not. I saw him everywhere after that. He literally gets jobs everywhere. He was driving everywhere. I would see him all the time on the road. At that point, all my closest friends knew. All my friends that I'm friends with now, like my longtime friends, they all had to deal with the situation. They saw him all the time. He would come around all the time, and I just was like, I'm not messing with him. Like, he knows that I will say something. I will say something in front of people. I'm ruthless. I don't care. Like, it's not a joke to me. I will tell people that he's dating, if they have kids. Like, it's just no joke. Like, it's just really not. I won't mess around with it. Definitely not scared of him. Basically, ending to the story is there really isn't one. I know there's a lot of people out there that this happened to when they were younger, that they have been fearful to say something, and their predators have also not been charged. And for me, it's not... Personally, it does not hurt. I mean, he should be in jail, period, and that's the end of it. But for me personally, it does not affect me that he is not in jail, but it terrifies me every single day. I have to live with the fact that he's not in jail, and I'm terrified that this is happening to other kids or other people, or it did happen and they're scared to say something, and, you know, whatever. We tried, but it was just, I just was so scared at the time to press charges, you know. And I was told that I couldn't, so I didn't try to proceed with the situation. There was no proof, you know? There was no proof at all of the situation at all. I didn't say anything for so long. There's so many people that don't do these things and don't talk about it and don't, you know, want to talk about it. It's extremely hard to talk about for some people. I'm going to do a comparison here. A good friend of mine, obviously I'm not going to name names, she has a situation that was also within her family that she had something bad happen to her as well, and I'm not going to go into any detail or say anything else other than that. But growing up, she kind of was scared of men, and just had really bad trust issues, and she didn't want to sleep with anyone. That wasn't her. That situation had traumatized her so bad that it was just scared. It was fear, you know? And with me, I was the polar opposite. And I searched for something in men or boys, I guess I should say, when I was younger, that was taken away from me when this situation went down as a little girl. And I don't know, this is so odd to talk about on camera, but I guess I was just searching for a sense of my innocence and my, you know, I don't know how to put it into words. I was just searching for something that I was never going to get back in a boy, and I don't know what exactly I was looking for, but it just seemed like I wanted love, or I wanted innocence, and I wanted someone to just love me, and I just wanted to trust anybody because I don't know, I just wanted someone to give that back to me and prove to me that I can trust people, you know? And so I was definitely too giving of trust and love, and I had attachment issues, obviously. I was like a little bit wild when I was younger. A lot of people told me in school things that were rude. I was like, I don't want to say bullied, but you know, like people made fun of me for the things that I did. And so it didn't matter. I'm not like chalking this up to be like, oh, this happened to me, so I did this, because that's not the case at all. I'm just saying that that was definitely something that in the long run changed my life. Now, with that being said, I would not be who I am today. I would not be the mother I am today. Why am I getting emotional? I don't know. But, anyway, yeah, this experience that I personally had, there's so many things that I have learned from it and I have grown from because of it. And I'm not going to sit here and say that I would obviously not take it back, because I would not wish this on anyone, and I would not want it for myself, obviously. But definitely it has made me who I am, and it has made me a hell of a lot stronger than I would have been without the situation, I think. And I learned and I grew from it, and I think that I'm a lot more mature than I would have been if this didn't happen to me. And it kind of turned me into someone that's not afraid to speak my mind. And yeah, there's just so many things that I got out of this horrible, terrible, disgusting situation that I'm not even like mad about this anymore, you know? For a long time, I had a lot of resentment for the situation, but I don't at all now. It's completely, I'm not going to sit here and say I'm okay that it didn't fuck me up, because it fucked me up. I finally got to see a counselor about the situation, which has been amazing, and definitely something that I recommend for every single person, no matter how hard this situation is to talk about. Please, please go see someone. If you don't want to tell your parents, if you don't want to tell, you know, whoever, just please tell someone that you can talk to, because you need to get this out. This is something that's eating at you, and it's hard. And so many women and children and people, period, go through this, that it's sickening and disgusting, and you do not deserve it. You deserve completely the opposite of this. So I just want you to not torture yourself over this, and remember that you are not alone, and you can always reach out to me 24/7. It does not matter if you have questions, if there's something you want to talk about, anything you have to say about the situation that you are in, you need to say it to someone, because you cannot keep living with that inside of you, and I promise you that. I don't even know how I feel about this video, or if it's going to get posted, but if it does, then here we are. I basically just want to say that you guys are not alone, and these are things you're going to grow from if this has happened to you. It's super, super hard, but unfortunately it's part of life these days for some people, as sick and twisted as that is. And I just don't want anyone living in fear, living to be afraid, or, you know, it's just like there's so many people out there that this happens to, that people just get away with doing these things. And I just urge you to not wait, you know, like just don't wait. You just need to be brave, and you need to be strong and get through this. And it's so much easier said than done. So much easier said than done. I was so embarrassed to talk about this situation when I was younger. that it wasn't even funny. And now it's just like, I'm an open book. People talk to me about this and they're like, this is insane that you can just talk about this like this when I am in the same situation. They can't talk about it at all without, they're crushed, you know? And me, on the other hand, I'm completely opposite. I am so open to questions. I'm so open to, you know, giving advice or hearing advice or just anything about the situation, because we just all need to be together about it, you know? It happens to so many people that it's just unfair. So if you've made it this far, please subscribe, and thank you guys so much for watching. And I'm sorry for such a rough video. This is the weirdest shadow. I will not be posting such serious content soon. We're gonna have some fun videos up soon. There's so much awesome stuff coming up. Our baby is due next month, and there's so many fun things happening this month. So anyway, thank you guys so much for watching. See you soon.